What is so amazing about accessibility is that small changes can have such an outsized impact on the individual, the community, and the planet. A good example of this is the experiences that I've had while living in Dubai. I've had many key teachers in my life, uh, and I've lived in Dubai for over 1 year. And one of the most influential teachers of mine in my life, someone I look up to a lot, taught me so much just by having me visit a theme park. So my teacher asked for me to go around the theme park and identify if anything was out of the ordinary. So I walked around it and I found that while the park itself had unique features, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary for a theme park. So after a while, I returned back to the entrance. I mentioned a few of the unique features that the park had, but that nothing was out of sorts. She then said, okay. And by the ticket booth near the entrance, she pulls out a wheelchair and asks me to get inside. Then she says, I'd like for you to try to go by the trash can you were just at. So I went over there and she says, try to throw something away. And now that I'm in the wheelchair, I extend my arm to try to reach the trash can. And I realize that it's harder for me to throw uh, the object away and that the trash can is a bit too high. And even though I am able to reach it and throw something away, that someone smaller than me who could be in a wheelchair would have struggled to have been able to do so. We looked at the ticket booth as well and found a similar issue. The booth was too high. I personally could reach it, but again, if someone was smaller than me, they would be very challenged to be able to receive tickets or interact with the people behind the ticket booth, and so on and so forth. I felt the same at the carnival games and some other key elements of the park. So my mind began to expand about this because it really was a paradigm shift. This idea that very small incremental changes could have such a profound impact. And what my teacher told me was that her goal was in the next few years that she was going to make everything in this park and all the other areas that she works on as accessible as possible to everyone. And when she was saying as accessible as possible, it wasn't like she was talking about these large, uh, high capex changes, majoritively. She was talking about very incremental changes, like making the trash can a little smaller, making the booth a little bit more accessible, having a wheelchair ramp, ensuring that all points of entry and exit are accessible for someone who might be wheelchair enabled, are just a few of the examples of what I'm speaking about, what she was describing. And a few months ago, actually, I received basic sign language training, and representatives from this park staff and so many others attended. It was just such an amazing experience. This was very basic training, included the alphabet of sign language, American Sign Language, some basic greetings as well. But it got me thinking about how different my the experience of this was for me. Growing up um, in high school, there was a separate section in the high school. It was a big school, and there's a separate section for people as called with special needs. And there wasn't really much opportunity for interaction. There even was, if I recall correctly, a separate parking lot or separate times. It was just very limited in terms of my ability to interact with other individuals with special needs, and that for there to be that level of integration. And even in the neighborhoods, the accessibility to meet someone who might have autism or is deaf or wheelchair enabled is challenging. So, um, but it got me thinking because I was talking to a teacher here. I mean, not my mentor teacher, but someone who actually teaches 10th grade here in Dubai, where I currently reside. And she, not only does she know sign language, but one of her students is deaf, and the entire class knows sign language fluently because they've been with her since pre-education. And now, as she looks in the future towards college applications, university, as I guess the international community calls it, looking for university applications, she will be provided with a translator for any university she chooses. So I just think it's such an amazing opportunity for society at large for some areas of integration where uh, I think both parties learn from each other. So anyway, it was just a really amazing moment. And it's gotten me thinking about what are the different opportunities that are available to incorporate accessibility in design. And looking at, for example, um, at office space, is the office space a place that is available, right? Is it accessible? Can someone who, if someone who had a wheelchair was hired, can they roll up into the office? Do they have adjustable tables? Are tables that would be able to be comfortable for someone within a wheelchair? Are the meeting desks and tables accommodating? Even thinking back at the park, it doesn't even always start at the park. Even thinking about what about the transportation to get people to the park? Are those fully accessible? So you can just continue going back and back and back and thinking about all the different opportunities. I had a great conversation with someone who was telling me about during the amusement park, there's a ride called the Lazy River, where people kind of get on these floaties, and it's not very fast. They just kind of float around, usually in a circle. And sometimes they need to clean the water. So the referees will blow the whistle, people will leave, and then they can chlorinate and or clean the water. And oftentimes, members of the deaf community, which was what the person was explaining, was they may not always be able to hear that whistle. So one thing that was brought about even thinking was, oh, what if there was an opportunity to have a special colored wristband or a special colored raft that would tell the referee, the lifeguard, that it's easy to that person might need additional accommodation if he blows the whistle and doesn't get up out of the water. It's just really amazing how very small changes can make such a huge impact. So all in all, this was a transformative experience for me. The person who, I consider a teacher is someone, I look up to a lot and really changed my perspective on this and the amazing ability we all have, I think, to make the world a bit more accessible. So I'd like to turn the question to you, and what are some ways you might be able to make your social world more accessible, whether it might be in the workplace. I know a lot of people working online these days, but maybe that's still a situation here in terms of the workplace or with your friends, colleagues, or elsewhere. Maybe something I even haven't thought about yet. So that's it for me. Just wanted to share with you this idea of what's possible with being accessible, because I think sometimes accessibility is not always understood as small things. They're thought about as these really complex, systemic changes. And sometimes it really just takes small acts to make such a huge impact on the world. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope that this has been helpful to you. Thank you.